Yay! What's up? What's up? What's up? Happy Wednesday. I haven't gotten live at all this week. I apologize. I have been very busy creating content for you guys. I'm filming, I shot 6 YouTube videos today for Life with Herpes, the vlog, answering a lot of your questions, talking about myths, talking about stigmas, talking about living with herpes, talking about living being a mom living with herpes, talking about diet, supplements, so many great things. I'm really excited. That's why I have makeup on today. That actually looks really scary in this light. Like this is all magnified. That's scary. But anyways, feel free to ask your questions here about living with herpes, life with herpes. What is it like to live with herpes? And it's one of the scariest things when we are diagnosed, terrifying actually, to find out that we have been diagnosed. So let me talk a little bit about myths. I was recording a YouTube today talking about myths, and there's a lot of preconceived myths about herpes. We think that the person that has herpes is well, I'll just tell you exactly what I think. So before I do that, I knew better. I actually was a peer educator for Planned Parenthood, and I was a sexual educator. So I knew about STIs. I knew about herpes. I knew how you got them. I knew how common they were. I knew everything about them. Yet I still got herpes, right? And it goes back to these myths. It goes back to these preconceived notions, these thoughts, these, well, this is the person that has it and I'm not that person. So really interesting thing about that. My personal belief when it came to having herpes was the person that had herpes looked like Marilyn Manson. Now, he's probably a really nice guy. I don't know if he has herpes or not, but he was terrifying to me, right? Like the look, just who he looks like is terrifying to me. Like I would be terrified of him. So the thought that that type of person in my mind is the type of person that had herpes, therefore I was never going to sleep with the Marilyn Manson, therefore I was never going to get herpes. Like these are silly preconceived notions and myths about it. Yet I got herpes. I was asking a lot of you guys to fill in, and some of you said like you thought that the people that had herpes had outbreaks consistently. A lot of other myths we thought as if you would be able to see the outbreak on the person prior to hooking up with them. That's false, right? Herpes lies dormant in our system. We don't have outbreaks all the time. Most of the people that have herpes don't know they have herpes because it's not checked in our STI status. So that's why so many of us have herpes and do not know, and we go spreading it. Thank you for my eye comment. I was really stressed about doing my makeup today. I don't know how to really do makeup, so thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. My favorite is Heroes Beauty. Their makeup is awesome. Oh, thank you. Yeah, so ask me your herpes questions. I am here to answer them. That's what this platform is all about. That's why I create this content, is to educate us on herpes, to begin to break the stigma about herpes and allow us to realize like our life is completely normal, even though we have herpes. Like life is totally normal. New here, are we taking HSV1 or HSV2? Talking. Yeah, thanks for joining, Ashley. Both. So HSV1 is oral. Well, HSV1 is typically associated with oral herpes. HSV2 is typically associated with genital herpes. I had a really easy Freudian slip. HSV1 does not mean it's oral herpes. A lot of times now we're getting genital herpes through their HSV1 through all these extracurricular activities that we do, and it's just getting transmitted that way a lot now. So a lot of people are getting diagnosed with genital HSV1. Basically, the viruses are the same. They look the same, act the same, do the same thing. People with HSV1 tend to get less outbreaks. I don't know why. That's just the nature of that specific type. But yeah, so I don't know why that is. Some people will have one outbreak and never have another outbreak. Some people have outbreaks back to back. It just depends on our body with that virus and how our immune systems are handling it. Yeah, you've had HSV1 sores since you were younger. So common and tired of people being dramatic over it. I know, I'm so tired of it. Thank you. I'm glad you're over it too. Yeah, HSV1 can be transmitted orally. Sorry guys, I just ate some nuts before I did this and I had like an almond stuck back there. Yeah, HSV1 can be transmitted orally to our partner. So a lot of people now are being diagnosed with genital HSV1 through oral sex, or they have genital HSV1 and they're transmitting it to other partners. Yeah, so it's very interesting that that is happening with our youth. It's happening a lot with our teenagers because they were not getting HSV1 as kids. In general, as a society, we've been more careful at transmitting it or preventing transmission to our children. Like if you go to school, that you're sent home. So there's been a lot more awareness around oral herpes and transmission. But there are a lot of kids a lot of our teens, early 20s are getting genital HSV1. Keep asking your questions, guys. Like I said, I love getting your questions. I get a lot of questions about, oh, you're welcome. I love breaking the stigma. I've been getting a lot of questions about how to get tested, or how do I know what type I have or not, what type I don't have. On this, like, how do you know what you have orally is HSV1? It probably is. Most people have oral HSV1. HSV2 is not as common in the oral region, but the way you would know, it would be one of two ways. Would be a blood draw, checking the antibodies. So it would be looking at the antibodies in your system to see what type. They could test you for type 1 or type 2, and then the results will come back. The con with that, like the downside to that, is we don't know the location. So we're just testing the blood to see that it's in your system. It doesn't mean we know the location of it. So a lot of times people will just get a random test done, and let's say they come back positive for HSV1 and they're like, but I've never had a cold sore, I don't know. It could be oral or genital. So there is kind of a downside to that. And then another way would be, when you actually have an outbreak, would be to swab it, so whether it's oral or genital, to swab it and send that off to the lab and have it looked at. And they can tell you what type it is. So those are two really great ways. You took a blood test 2 weeks ago and you were told, I was told I tested for HSV2, but I've never had an outbreak. The results seem odd. So most people do not get outbreaks. Which is interesting. Like most people, the majority of the population has herpes, and most people do not get outbreaks. So you're very lucky that you don't get outbreaks. I know that may not sound lucky because you're like, wait, I just found out I have herpes. Are you sure this is accurate? I would of course talk to your doctor, and I would go back if you have more questions. Like I would ask your doctor to explain your test results to you. And I would also have, I would get retested if you are confused about it. But, typically, I mean, the antibodies are, if you come back, if your antibodies come back high, I mean, it's pretty, I don't want to say it's pretty accurate, but you have the antibodies for it. So I would definitely ask your doctor about that. What is a good way to share with a potential partner about having HSV1, or how early on to disclose? So, So disclosure is a really big thing. That is one of the biggest fears that we have when we're diagnosed. I just talked about that in some YouTube videos. Like, can we get married? Can we have children? How do I get rid of the outbreak? How do I disclose? And that's one of the things that paralyzes us with this diagnosis. And I think that you should disclose whenever you're ready. There's no specific recipe of like, on date 3, I need to disclose, or I have to disclose prior to going out with this person, or I need to put it on my Tinder profile. Like, if you want to, awesome. Something that I just want us all to be aware of, that's not right, it's not wrong. If you're disclosing up front, so if you're disclosing like prior to dating, like maybe even on the first date, you are doing that as a way to protect, it's a protection. It's a protection mode to protect your emotions. You're saying, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to get committed to you until you know my status. I don't want my heart to get hurt. right? I don't want to put anything into you if I'm not going to get anything back. And that's okay. I just want you to be aware of that as a protection mode. That's all. I personally believe that every person we date, us included, we have something that's confidential or something that is intimidating or something that is very vulnerable that we need to disclose to a partner, whatever that may be. Whether you have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of college debt, whether you're in trouble with the law, whether you had substance abuse, any type of abuse, whatever. There's things that we need to disclose to a partner, and that could be a red flag or a deal breaker. Herpes is just like that. So for us to feel like we're disclosing something and it's like the partner is like a perfect angel and he or she like would of course have done nothing wrong or has nothing bad to disclose in their life is absolutely false. So that person has something vulnerable that he or she needs to share with you as well. So with that being said, back to this whole thing about disclosure. I put a toolkit together. It's called the Tell Your Partner Toolkit. There's about 12 videos in there walking you through. I have scripts in there. I have different, is it a one night stand? Is it a past partner? Or is it a long-term relationship? All three are different types of disclosures. But back to you, Rachel, when you are ready, when you're ready to sleep with the person, if you're not going to expose the person to it, gosh, do I have chocolate? I think I do. That's awesome. I just recorded a bunch of YouTube videos with chocolate. It's fine. If you are ready to sleep with the person, then yeah, that's your time. But don't feel like you have to until you're really ready. Oh, thank you, Zach. I appreciate it. I appreciate that. Thank you, Zach. I've actually put makeup on today, so I'm glad everyone's noticing. Even though I've never been diagnosed, how would I respond? How would you respond to the disclosure? How would you respond to somebody I don't think I understand the question about that. So let me know. Papercuts that heal within a day or even hours. Yeah, papercuts are a form of herpes. It is herpes. Some people get a cluster of blisters. Some people get one blister. Some people get paper cuts. But the paper cuts are herpes as well. I get all different types. I get herpes around my outbreaks around my anal opening. That's like such a random place to get it and like really vulnerable thing to share with you. But I get them around my anal opening. The ones I get around my anal opening are paper cuts. They're not blisters. They're paper cuts. The ones I get on my tailbone are blisters. So it's like one or a little cluster. So I get all different types, but the areas, like I don't get paper cuts on my tailbone, which is interesting. Hey, you're welcome. I'm glad. What are the paper cuts? So yeah, the paper cuts can be a blister or a lesion. It's the herpes. It can show up in different forms. Can we talk about herpes? Can we talk about doctors not treating herpes correctly? Yeah, and I don't want to beat up on doctors. They obviously are our heroes. They save our lives. But herpes to them is like not that important. There's way bigger fish to fry in the medical community. They also know that dealing with the aftermath of a diagnosis, so dealing with the emotional trauma that happens when we're diagnosed, may or may not be something they want to deal with. So a lot of times they do not even test that. Like if we're not showing signs, they're like, I don't want to deal with that. Because they also know it doesn't do anything to us. Other STIs can have long-term effects that can really have large impacts on our life, infertility, a lot of big issues. So herpes really is no issue in our life other than annoying blisters and the emotional trauma. So yeah, that's why it's really not treated with our medical community. Again, I don't want to beat up on them. There's a lot of great doctors out there that really treat this correctly and really put an effort into it. The tailbone, is it common to be on the tailbone? No, I was just talking about this earlier on the vlog. We had this on myths. We had this preconceived notion that herpes was just on the genitals, so just on genitals, for example. And it can be in why don't I stand up? Let's stand up. Maybe you can see the stain on my jeans. Nope, you can't. So it can be, let me stand back. It can be anywhere in like the underwear boxer region. So it can be under your belly button. It can be in the between your thighs. It can be on your butt. It can be on your tailbone. It can be, you know, any of that area, because it's skin to skin transmission, meaning that it comes in, like if a person is infected in a certain area and they come into contact with you, then you can get it there. I didn't start on my tailbone. It started in my vaginal opening, and because it runs along the nerves, it's actually kind of moved there, which I'm totally fine with. I'm fine with it being on my tailbone. I prefer it there, honestly. What's my diet like? You're starting a vegan, plant-based, alkaline diet. I know alkaline is really important. I'm a big meat eater, so I can't help you with the vegan. I'm a huge vegetable eater, though. I'm part vegetable, but my diet is filled with protein. My diet is filled with lots of fiber. I'm really big into fiber, and then healthy fats. You know, olive oils, avocados. I'm gluten-free. Very anti-processed foods. Like I make my own breads, like I make my own buckwheat flour. So I try to eat very, very clean, and I do eat nuts. Nuts can cause outbreaks. I do eat chocolate, as you saw earlier. I eat chocolate, and I drink wine. So I have all that in my life, but with moderation. How do you recommend dealing with the first outbreak? It's excruciating pain. I can't even walk. Yeah, it's not funny, but I just talked about this. Yeah, I remember like when I was first diagnosed, to sit down, it was like, ooh, can I do it? Right. And I can't wear jeans for like 2 weeks, and you know, all that stuff. I would say the best thing for you to do on your first outbreak, if you have not been diagnosed, get diagnosed so you can get a prescription. The antiviral is it works very well. It is efficient and will give you immediate relief within the first 24 hours. Whether you want to be on the duration, the rest of it for forever, that's different. That's up to you and your doctor. But if you are in excruciating pain, that will help, and it will help soothe you. I would also look at taking an Epsom salt bath. I was just talking about this as well. We have the recovery soak. It's Epsom salts. It is geranium oil, chamomile, and oregano oil, essential oils. And also I added 300 milligrams of CBD. So the Epsom salts do wonders by calming your nervous system, by helping with the itch, the tingle, soothing your body, and calming your nervous system, which means calming everything down. The herpes virus lives in the nervous system, which is, so when you have an outbreak, this is what's like going on inside your body. We need to calm it down so that your body can heal from within. So I'd say those. I would say if you have not joined a community, obviously Life with Herpes is my favorite community. I started it. I'm very proud of it. We have wonderful people in the group from all over the world, all different ages, all different races, all different sexual orientations. I would say find a community that you like and you feel that you would associate with that group to find support. That's going to be your key right there. Those things are going to be really important. Do you have to ask for an HSV test? Yeah, you absolutely have to. So if you ask, like, if you go in for your herpes and you're like, are you going for an STI and you're like, hey, just do my STI test. Unless you specifically say I want herpes, it will not be included. And that's why a lot of people are like, I was always getting tested and I was always negative for everything. And why did this show up? Well, they didn't test you for it. So you don't know necessarily how long you had it. You really have outbreaks, but ever since changing your diet and working out heavily, will that activate? I think exercise is a good thing. You know, you don't know about your diet until you change it. You don't know until you try. So the worst thing that happens is that you get an outbreak. Then you can kind of make adjustments. You might find a certain food or a certain activity may trigger it, or not. You might be like, wow, I can totally do this and my body's fine and it's healthy. Can you be wrongly diagnosed with herpes? You had one outbreak. I lost it. One outbreak 2 years ago, but haven't had one since. Yeah, you can be wrongly diagnosed, but I would go get a blood test. I would go see if you have the antibodies. If you have the antibodies, then you probably have it. My first oral outbreak was awful. I had to go to the hospital. I was 20 years old. I did not have a second oral outbreak until I was 34. So that just goes to show you I had a 14-year gap in between outbreaks. So I still have herpes, you know what I mean? What's the best way to prevent HSV-1 genital outbreaks if you don't want to be on the suppression medications? I would say there's some vitamins you can take. Obviously, anything that's immune boosting, you know, the vitamin C's, the vitamin D's, all that. But I'm really into lysine and I'm really into monolaurin. Lysine is an essential amino acid that helps suffocate the virus or helps limit the replication of the herpes virus. So that's really helpful. And then monolaurin is a lauric acid, which is it basically is able to break down the outer shell of the virus and allows our immune system to penetrate it and help also suffocate that virus as well. Yeah, so I would take those two supplements. I do have them linked if you want to go check them out. Definitely check them out. Use the promo code LWH, Life With Herpes. You do get 10% off. And I'm obsessed with monolaurin and lysine as well. So go check that out, definitely. Is taking Valtrex bad for your liver every day? So I'm not a doctor. I can't really answer that. I would say talk to your doctor. I would say if it's something you don't need to take, you probably don't need to take it every day. But if it's important for you to take it, then take it. I'm taking valcyclovir right now daily just because for whatever reason, my body wants to get outbreaks back to back. So how do you hope to join that community soon? Yeah, join our community. The link's here somewhere. Go check out my bio or below. I don't know where it is, but it's here. Join the community. It is $14.99 a month. So it is a monthly membership, but it is, 2 calls a week, 2 live calls just for the group, special promotions. Like I said, hundreds of people from all over the world. All right. Love you too. All right, guys, I will see you soon. I'm going to bounce. I'm going to actually work on some more content for some more YouTube videos to hopefully get them out. So you have to check Life with Herpes YouTube soon. All right. I will see you soon. Bye, guys. Keep asking your questions.